Good morning. Welcome to the CAL FIRE Aviation Base here at McClellan for us to discuss the dangers of drones and wildfires. As you can see, there are a number of agencies, both state and federal, here that are a vital part of California's firefighting mission. Just to name those agencies, we have representatives from CAL FIRE, the U.S. Forest Service, the California National Guard, Fish and Wildlife, the Bureau of Land Management, as well as the National Park Service. And like I said, when there's a fire in California, all these agencies are there, and firefighters obviously are put at risk when we have these drone incidents. So to turn it over to talk more about that issue, I want to introduce the U.S. Forest Service Chief Shauna LaGarza.
Good morning. My name is Shauna LaGarza. I'm the Regional Director for Fire and Aviation Management for the Pacific Southwest region that's here in California. And a big thank you today for coming out to this press conference to hear the importance of the worrisome that we have about drones on the National Forest lands and state lands and all jurisdictions in California. So as you can see behind me, and as Daniel mentioned, wildland fire response in California is not just one agency, it's all the agencies together. It's the federal, the state, the county, the city, the local government, the National Guard, the volunteers. And so just a week ago, we had 4 different drone incursions on National Forest lands. We had 2 down on the fires in Southern California on the San Bernardino National Forest. One of those first ones was on the lake fire incident. And when that happened on the lake fire incident, we had to shut down all the aviation operations that were occurring on the fire. And so when we do that, when we shut down the aviation, that's the air tankers and the helicopters, that's the people in the air that are providing support to the ground firefighters and protecting the homes and the public and the people of California. That fire had a temporary flight restriction on it. That's called a TFR. The TFR is built by the Federal Aviation Administration. We request them when we go into an extended attack fires. And when you want to enter a TFR, you have to have permission to go into the TFR, and that drone didn't. The second incursion we had down on Southern California was on an initial attack fire. Everybody knows those. You see the smoke on the hillside, and we send an automatic response, all agencies together, a first alarm, second alarm, or third alarm. We had an intrusion there where somebody, a hobby recreational drone, decided they would fly over and see what the fire was doing. And that's not safe either, because our people in the aviation can't fly in the air when the drone is there. So that was in Southern California. That was in 2 days, a Wednesday and a Thursday together. Then it was like maybe a day or 2 later, we had incursions in Northern California on the Lassen National Forest and on the Plumas National Forest. And what we were doing on those was we were simply doing a recon. So we do a reconnaissance after we have a lot of lightning, which we've seen in the last week. We fly a plane across the forest and we look for fires so we can do aggressive initial attack. And so we spotted the drone on that one and we had to shut down the reconnaissance efforts. And when that happens, that delays our response to wildland fires. So it's been a pretty big problem in just 1 week. And so we wanted to have this press conference to get the word out that if you do have a drone out there, a recreational drone, please follow the rules for the recreational drone use. And go to the FAA websites, look at the information. We have handouts here today to give to folks and learn about where you can and cannot fly your drone. The other thing that I think a lot about is just the safety of the firefighters that are out there that we have responding to fires. Just yesterday we lost a couple of firefighters in an off-duty accident. And so getting word out about safety and aviation and ground resources is important, because the last thing we need is another accident on duty with our folks. So thank you for your time, and I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Director for CAL FIRE, Dave Teeter.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Director and Chief of CAL FIRE, Ken Pimlott, my name's Dave Teeter. I'm the Deputy Director, Chief of Fire Protection for CAL FIRE. As my esteemed colleague, Chief LaGarza, just mentioned, the threat of wildland fire in the state of California is very real. It is experienced on a daily basis, and as she said, it is a collaborative effort amongst all the agencies that you see standing behind me in order to be successful in each and every one of our dedicated mission of protecting life, property, and the natural resources of the state of California and the federal government. The threat of wildfire is real. The threat of airspace intrusion is extremely sensitive right now, particularly given the most recent events here locally just last year. To bring it home in El Dorado County, the Sand Fire just over a year ago burnt several thousand acres and over 60 structures, 20 of which were single-family homes, where the aerial asset operation had to be suspended because of a drone intrusion. It took nearly 40 minutes to isolate and ground that hobby drone so that the aerial assets could re-engage and support the firefighters on the ground. The message needs to be very clear. The safety of our firefighters, the safety of the public at large are paramount. Our aerial asset safety is threatened when we have airspace intrusion, whether it be through general aviation or from a hobbyist drone. Whether intentional or otherwise, it has to be dealt with the same way. The safest way to do that is to simply remove our aerial assets from the area until that drone and its operator can be isolated and the aerial assets can return to do the job of supporting the ground troops. While that operation is suspended, the fires have and will continue to grow. They will become more difficult and more challenging to suppress. They will become larger, potentially more damaging, and most certainly more costly to fight. As you know, our firefighting aerial assets fly at very low altitudes, often in very smoke and heated environments. It's only last year about this time where we lost a CAL FIRE air tanker down in the Yosemite National Park. It's an extremely risky, hazardous, and dangerous job that we ask these men and women to do on a daily basis. The cooperation of the public at large to spread the message that hobby drone use and intrusion over a fire zone is just simply not acceptable. If you fly, we cannot. It's just that easy. We ask that you help us and convey the message across the vast scapes of the state of California that if you fly a drone over a fire zone, we simply cannot fly at the same time. Regardless of whether there is a TFR in place, the impacts can be the same. We do not put a TFR in place over a fire area on every single initial attack. We do not want to impact general aviation. It's not a sensible thing to do, but we do it when the conditions are ripe and when operations dictate that necessity. So with that, it is important to note that there is law, there is punishable fines for people that interfere with firefighters in them carrying out their duties. Our intent and our priority right now is to use you as the media to help us convey the message that those hobbyist drones that are out there that have these devices that are simply looking to satisfy their interest as to what may be going on in their community, or perhaps looking for the next most highly viewed video or photo on social media venues, it's simply putting the risks of our aerial assets and our firefighters and the public at large at risk. So thank you again for coming out this morning. It was a wonderful opportunity to take the reprieve in the recent triple digits, and I don't know if we're getting necessarily the reprieve from the lightning events up in the northern part of the state, but thank you for coming out today, and most importantly, thank you for helping us convey this message to the public at large.